Hello. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and I want to welcome you to the HeartLine Heart Talk with Adelai Brown. I am so excited about today, and I just wanted to talk to you all a little bit about the discomfort you may be experiencing right now in your life. I feel like we're living in a season where a lot of us are really uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is not just a physical discomfort. I feel like right now, if you're listening to this, I believe that there's an area of your life that you're being challenged in, that maybe you haven't been challenged in that area before. Maybe you haven't been stretched in that area before, or maybe you were, and now that you're being stretched again and you don't really know what to do with it. And today's Heartline is going to really address you dealing with that discomfort. Now, for those of you that do not know, I am Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and my mission is to build heart equity. What is heart equity? Where we create personal, relational, and financial wealth through authentic living. My focus is authentic transformation. We live in a world where people are transforming their physical bodies, they're transforming their surroundings, but they are not doing it authentically. They're trying to transform because they believe if they present a certain way, they'll feel better. But the truth of the matter is, the only way you're going to feel better about yourself is when you're being true and authentic and real with yourself and your surroundings. And that's what my mission is. So if you're looking to be authentic, if you're looking to truly transform your life from the inside out in a way that you can be proud of and sleep good at night, come on and join this heart equity movement with us. Now let's get into today's call. Today's show. Now, one of the things I want you to think about is the fact that growth can be very uncomfortable. When you are growing, there's a such thing as growing pains. Back in the day, it used to be a show called Growing Pains. But the truth is, when you grow, it's uncomfortable. I remember when my oldest daughter was a teenager and she was coming into her teen years and she started complaining. She's always been athletic, always been one to move around and be very active. And I remember she was a teenager and she started complaining. She was like, "Mama, I'm just in pain every day. It's like my legs are hurting and my back is hurting." And at first I was a little nervous about it, but we had a good relationship with the pediatrician, so we went to the doctor. And when we went to the doctor checked her out and did all the examinations and everything on her. And then she finished and she said, "You know what? What she's going through right now, her pain is very real. But what's happening is her bones are growing and they're stretching, they're elongating, and it's painful for her right around the areas that they're growing." So the doctor was asking her a series of questions. She answered the questions and she said, "You know what? This will go away in the next couple months or whatever as she gets through this stage of her development." And that's exactly what happened. So she was uncomfortable, but she was not incorrect. Like, it wasn't like her discomfort was because there was some dis-ease or some illness or some ailment. Her discomfort, her awkwardness was coming from the fact that she was growing. She was authentically transforming. This was an authentic part of the transformation that needed to take place in her life. And I believe that wherever you are in your life right now, you might be experiencing some discomfort. You might be experiencing some awkward situations. And I just want to let you know that you're not incorrect. Just because it's awkward doesn't mean you need to stop. Just because it's uncomfortable does not mean that you're in the wrong. Many of us grew up blaming ourselves for things that happened. So anytime something went wrong, we found ourselves blaming ourselves for that. And what I want to say to you is, you are no longer in that season of your life. You have been through enough in your life that you can start to trust yourself. Because if you can't trust yourself, nobody else is going to be able to trust you. It is imperative that you embrace the idea that some of the discomfort that you are going through is because you are right where you need to be. I know growing up, my mom was always very big on wearing good shoes, right? My mother is not a fan of people who like to buy cheap shoes because they look good. My mama likes to wear real leather. She's old school with that. And I remember when she would buy me new shoes, at first they would be tight. They would feel a little awkward, a little uncomfortable. And then she would always say, oh no, they fit you. You just got to break them in. They're just a little uncomfortable for now. But once you break them in, they're going to feel good. And I'm like, no, this isn't my size. But it was my size and they had to be broken. And I believe that you are being broken into the life you've been dreaming of. And it's uncomfortable, especially when you come up like I did. And you're so used to the dysfunction. You're so used to things not going your way. You're so used to having to people please or having to lower your standards for people to love you, to accept you, to invest in you. And now you're in a season in your life where it's time for you to break into something new, something more valuable, something that's going to last you longer. One thing I'll say, those leather shoes my mom used to buy me, they lasted for a very long time. They could withstand all types of weather, all types of situations, right? But at first they were uncomfortable. Now I can think about some other shoes that I bought that seemed comfortable from the very beginning, but after I wore them for a while, they wore out. Why? Because they were cheap. They were not made with the same quality as the leather shoes. So they might have been uncomfortable at first, but those leather shoes proved to actually fit and last longer and be better support for my foot. So what am I saying? Quit idolizing the easy thing. Quit looking for a quick fix. Quit looking for something to make you feel better and somebody to make you feel better, because that's how you keep staying in these situations that are hurting you. That's how you keep finding yourself at the bottom. That's how you keep finding yourself always at the short end of the stick. Why? Because you always looking for the easy thing. You're avoiding the discomfort. Sometimes the best medicine tastes the nastiest. And one of the things that I'm seeing in my own life right now is like I'm seeking out the situations that are causing me to be uncomfortable, because in that area of discomfort, I'm finding that I'm growing. I'm uncomfortable only because I'm choosing to let go of the people, the places, the behaviors that have kept me comfortable and behind. So what I'm telling you is, if we're going in the holiday season and you know that when you get around your family, it triggers you in a very negative way. When you think about going to your grandma's house or your auntie house, your stomach start hurting. You might get an upset stomach. You might start snapping on your significant other, your children, your friends. Why? Because subconsciously, you don't want to go to grandma's house or auntie's house, because you know you got that one auntie or that one uncle or that one person in your family that's going to say something out of the way, that's going to be disrespectful to your being right now. They're challenging and critiquing what you're doing, and you know it's not coming from a place of love. Let me tell you something. It might be awkward to find a new address to attend Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, but for you to grow and be the person God called you to be, I'm going to need you to go to somebody. I need you. They say, guess who's coming to dinner? It won't be you. See, we're talking about being awkward, but it doesn't mean that you're incorrect. And y'all got to stop doing things to please other people and make them feel good. Let me tell you something. When you choose to grow, it is going to make people uncomfortable, because they were comfortable with all of y'all being in that situation. Think about it like a garden. If y'all are planted in dysfunction, you are used to not growing properly. But if you want your plant to grow, you're going to uproot that and you're going to repot it in some successful soil. And guess what's going to happen? Those plants that were around that plant that was uprooted are going to have to get adjusted, or they're going to have to look to be uprooted themselves. But what you cannot do is keep on making these limiting situations because you're trying to avoid being awkward. You're trying to avoid the discomfort of what's going to happen when you got to explain to them, I'm not coming to Thanksgiving. I'm not coming to Christmas. No, my children will not be participating in those things. If these people hurt your feelings and tore down your self-esteem when you were a child, why would you send your kids to the same people for them to do the same thing? All in the sake of family? Y'all better miss me with that. For real. Listen, there are two things that I would suggest that you get started with before this year is over. You need to get therapy and you need to get life coaching. You need to get a chiropractor. You need a primary care physician, and you need to find something to do that's active. You need to work on yourself. And guess what? Just like when you go in a gym to work out, when you go, if you haven't worked out in a while and you go work out in a gym, or any type of workout you do, guess what's going to happen? Your body is going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel a little awkward. You're going to feel that discomfort. Why? Because you're doing something different. But that awkwardness does not equate to incorrect. When you're ready to start moving and you've been stiff for a little while, moving is going to be painful. That does not mean that moving is incorrect. It does not mean that moving is a wrong thing for you. It just means that it's uncomfortable. It's awkward. Why? Because you have not done it in a while. And for some of you, you've never done it. You have to start exercising the muscles that you have that aren't just the physical muscles. You're going to have to exercise the muscle of speaking up for yourself. You're going to have to exercise the muscle of being able to do things alone. You're going to have to exercise the muscle of being able to pursue your dreams and goals without the validation and the encouragement and support of others. Awkward does not equal incorrect. Discomfort does not equal dysfunction. It is very important that we get that. I need you to understand that right now, whatever is going on in your life, I want you to know that you already have the answer to the problem. You have the solution to the problem. What you really have to understand is you got to be willing to do the work to go deep so that you can tap into the resources that you already have. It's just like the mighty oak tree starts off as a little acorn. And when you plant, like today I was playing pickleball, and the pickleball court we play on is under a bunch of oak trees. So when we really nurture what's in us, God will surprise us. Like, we don't even know all of the blossom and the bloom and all of the fruit that's on the inside of us. And we'll never know until we continue to properly nurture our seed. Understand that a seed has to die in the ground before it can ever sprout up and be that mighty oak tree. And that process of death can be very uncomfortable. And what I'm saying to you is you're going to have to let some things die. You're going to have to let some people, in the sense of the relationship you have with them, die. Or what about the way you have a relationship? That's going to have to die in order for you to have something new to live. Your vision and your view of yourself has to die in order for a new way that you view yourself to rise up and to live. It is time for you to do something different. It is time for you to have a separate a new and renewed focus. And in order for you to do that, it's going to be uncomfortable. I just need to stress the fact that being uncomfortable does not mean it's wrong. Just like those leather shoes, sometimes your discomfort is a sign that you're right where you need to be. I know when I'm in therapy and I'm doing some of my coaching sessions and I have to answer some of those questions, or I get to answer some of those questions, it is very uncomfortable. But after being uncomfortable, I feel so empowered. I feel so uplifted. Why? Because I am growing. I'm challenging myself. I'm not being stuck. It's just like when you're if you've ever gone to a chiropractor and they adjust you, it's like you get so used to living life so restricted that when you're adjusted and they let you and they open you up, it's like, oh my God, it's uncomfortable at first. Can you believe it? It's uncomfortable to feel better because you've grown so accustomed to being in pain. And what I'm saying to you right now, what I'm saying to you is like, look, y'all, we got to stop avoiding the discomfort because we don't want to be uncomfortable. No, your discomfort is a sign that you're right where you need to be. Your discomfort is a sign that God is moving in your life like never before. Your discomfort is a sign that you're not stuck. If you are where you are and if you ever find yourself bored or you find yourself feeling unfulfilled, you know what? That's a sign that you are not doing enough towards your purpose. That's a sign that you are not living up to your highest potential. That's a sign that you're not stretching yourself enough. And one of the reasons why I can tell you this is because, you know, when I started doing heart coaching, I didn't know what I was doing. In 2006, I started sending out inspirational text messages. I feel like I started heart coaching back then, 2006. We talking about 17 years of encouraging and uplifting people, of having these difficult conversations. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had to send those text messages out. This was before smartphones. We still had our Nokias. And things like that, our StarTacs and things like that. If y'all remember those phones from back then, those razors and stuff like that. And I just remember I wanted something different. I remember my mom and I were not getting along. I remember my husband and I weren't even married at the time, and I was frustrated because I didn't want to be shacking up and I didn't want to be a girlfriend for the rest of my life. And you know, I just remember being in that space feeling stuck. And I remember sending out those text messages and how uplifting and how encouraging it was, not just for me but for others. But I remember how uncomfortable it was, because sending those text messages made me feel exposed. It made me vulnerable, right? And so I had to get over that. But sending those text messages made me grow. I never thought I could be an author. But after sending those text messages for about 2 or 3 years, I started having people say, you need to write a book. You need to put this stuff in a book. I wasn't thinking about that. I was just being obedient. I was just allowing God to stretch me and feeling the discomfort of the stretch, but still allowing myself to be stretched. And, you know, the book, the text messages went to me starting Heart Talk, which was September 1st, 2014. And every Monday night, I remember that very first Heart Talk, it was like 9 ladies that got on, and their families. I like to say they were the 9 on the phone, but many of us had husbands and significant others that would always listen in to Heart Talk. Shout out to my husband who would listen in, and every night, he might not say something about it on Monday nights, but he would listen every Monday night on Heart Talk. And Heart Talk was a weekly empowerment session where women from all over the world would come together on a conference call and discuss matters of the heart so we can live authentically on purpose. I didn't even know I was coaching back then. I was doing Heart Talk for a year before I even realized that I was life coaching. I didn't even know that was a thing. I had no idea. I heard the term before, but I never associated that with what I was doing. So it was uncomfortable, but I knew I had to do it. It was uncomfortable, but something wouldn't let me let up. I knew that every Monday night at 9:15, I had to be on this call. And that was back in 2014. I remember going to basketball games. I remember traveling on trips with my family and doing Heart Talk on Monday nights. It was uncomfortable. I was talking about things in my life that I never thought I would open up and share with people, my business. But it was uncomfortable, but it stretched me. It was uncomfortable, but it forced me to grow. And now with these next steps, now I've authored 4 books, right? I've done countless workshops and events and done speaking engagements and been on TV and featured in international magazines and all of that, doing this hard work. But it all came from being willing to be uncomfortable, understanding that awkward does not mean incorrect. And so I want to stress that to you. Like, I just want you to know that wherever you are in your life and whatever you have going on, awkward does not mean incorrect. Just because you're in a space in your life that you might not be able to clearly explain to those who want understanding. Let me tell you something. You can't be out here trying to explain stuff to people that you don't even understand. When you walk in by faith and not by sight, you're not going to understand it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. When you walking by faith and not by sight, it does not mean that everything is going to work out the way you thought it was going to work out, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to work out. What I'm saying to you, it's time for you to surrender your pride. Submit your pride to God. Surrender your pride. Stop trying to protect yourself. Quit trying to figure it all out and be perfect so that you can foolproof the outcome. You're going to mess up regardless. That's just a way of life. But the only way you can fail is by never trying or by not trying again. So remember this. If you're feeling awkward, if it feels weird, if it's unclear, it does not mean that you're in the wrong space. It could be a sign that you're right where you need to be. You're in new territory. You're doing new things, and you're having to get accustomed to that. I remember when I went to Colorado, and when we got there, we went out to eat the first night, and they said, "How long have you been here?" We told them. They said, "Okay, in about a day and a half, you're going to start experiencing serious shortness of breath because of the altitude. The air is thinner, and it's going to take your body some time to get adjusted to that." And I'm so glad they told us about it, because if they didn't, I probably would have wanted to go to the ER thinking something was wrong with me when I started having trouble climbing a flight of 3 stairs, and I found myself being winded. But what I realized was I was at a higher altitude. Charleston, South Carolina, where I live, the sea level is below sea level. The ground is below sea level. And when I went to Colorado, I was higher than 7,000 feet in the air. So what happened was, you have to get adjusted to the altitude. When you're growing and you're elevating, the air is thinner up there, and you're going to have to get adjusted to that. And it's uncomfortable. It does not mean you're in the wrong place. It just means that you need to take the time to get yourself adjusted to this new place and way of being. And it's time for you to elevate. Maybe you're the one in your family that's supposed to break that toxic pattern, that toxic behavioral generational curse. Maybe you're the one that's supposed to be the wealthy one and teach people about generational wealth. Maybe you're the one that's supposed to bring the remedy to the sickness that's been plaguing your community. But whatever it is, understand that whatever you're going to do with meaning, it's going to cause you some discomfort, but you're going to be all right. So do me a favor. If this video has blessed you, please share it with at least 5 other people that need to be reminded that just because they're uncomfortable, just because they don't quite understand, it does not mean they're in the wrong place. They are right where they need to be. Just trust the process. Trust the process, because the process won't fail you. I love y'all. This has been Adelai Brown, your heart coach, with another episode of the HeartLine. And we will be back with another one soon. Have a great day. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and share.